When you're a kid, your dad's a hero. There's no one stronger, greater, or braver than your dad. But there are heroes and there are superheroes. As you grow up, there are hundreds of stories you could tell about all the times your dad made you laugh, made you strong, made you feel safe. And that was how it was for us. Dad was always a superhero. But one day we'd learn, even a superhero can fall. In November 2013, Dad was a disaster waiting to happen. Looking back now, we don't know why we didn't see it before. We were mid-30s with our own lives, and we thought we didn't have time for Dad. He was 20 stone with advanced type 2 diabetes and atrial fibrillation and irregular heartbeat. He had dangerously high blood pressure and took handfuls of pills several times a day. He was nothing like the old Dad, and his only real hobbies now were work and food.
Can you open your eyes for me now? There we go.
We had no medical background, but we did have a clear choice. Fix Dad now, or lose him for good.
Hello.
And all right?
All right, how you doing?
Yeah, I've just been to see Dad, and he's just getting worse. It's just not good.
I know he is. I know.
So I think we need to get together and do something.
But where the hell do you start?
You've got to think about it.
And yeah, what we do, we're working our asses off for big corporations, trying to make money just to live our own lives.
Yep.
At the same time, the man who made us who we are today is withering away.
So who was Jeff? Who was this man who got us here, and why did he mean so much? Simply put, Jeff was a grafter, and beyond that, he was a fixer. It didn't matter how hard life got. When Jeff walked into a room, it all felt better. It felt fixable, even when it might not be. Jeff never knew his own dad, but he'd do anything for his mum. Together with his brother Dave, they grew up in Lewisham, southeast London, with a fierce loyalty and generosity that would come to define him as a man. All right, he wasn't always the coolest bloke in the world, but he tried. And somehow, in the 70s, he met our mum. Sadly, the marriage wouldn't last. Dad was working long hours and developing bad habits. He started drinking heavily and eating badly, and at the same time, his two sons were demanding a lot from him. Over time, Dad got himself into debt. We didn't know it then, but we were partly responsible. Dad did all the things that Dad's supposed to do, but it took its toll on him. We felt this was our chance to put things right, so we started meeting up more to piece it together.
But he's tried to sort himself out before, and he's tried to do stuff.
Yeah.
And it's never worked, never ever works. He's always gone back.
Does anybody want any cake?
I just really feel like it's someone else has got to do something.
Making this film is something that, you know, hopefully will benefit him in a lot of ways. But it also documents something that I know other people that are going through this exact same thing. So I think this project is about giving him something else in his life and enriching it, really.
He's a fantastic dad. He's been a brilliant dad, and he's a brilliant granddad. And if we don't do something about it, no one else is going to.
No, exactly, yeah.
Jeff. I think that's stuck.
Why are you doing it to that one?
Because that looks better, because it's a big wide of the whole thing. It's like you come up there to report. I can do it to him, but people get sick of my face being that close.
Do it to that one.
I have to stick his feet up. Tape is for hazard. This is hazard areas.
Yeah, he's pretty hazardous.
We're putting stuff up on the board to see what it is we know and don't know. One thing we did know is that Dad liked to eat and drink. He wasn't into exercise, and food had become his only real hobby. He wasn't sure about this whole fixing idea yet either.
No, you're not allowed to film this bit.
Well, no, we are. No, that's the whole point today.
Do you want soju on your stuff in?
Yeah,
Dad still ate a lot of fatty, sugary foods, and we didn't think this was helping him. But even more of a challenge for us were his work patterns.
Right, it's now 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm completing my chores around the building. Slightly out of breath now. I'm up to the 3rd floor where most of my work is.
Shift workers getting too little sleep at the wrong time of day may be increasing their risk of diabetes and obesity. Well, we know he already is. But surely having diabetes and doing that can't be a good thing. The news is based on a lab-based study that examined how 3 weeks of sleep disruption affected people's metabolism and blood sugar levels.
I don't mind this sort of work. It's makes the night go quicker.
We've been tossers in a way towards him at times. We haven't been particularly selfless the way he is.
No,
he makes us all look like tossers, really. Everybody around him, he makes.
He does, yeah.
In the way that he does things for people.
But he makes it his problem because he does care. He's the most altruistic person I've ever known.
It's what the client requires, so that's what we do.
Why is he working so hard? This is his money problems, isn't it? Why is he still having to work nights?
I don't know.
I shouldn't be retired. No. Any other firm are 65 minimum, and now it's 70. They're expecting you to go to 69.
You started work at 16 in BT as an apprentice, and you did 44 years. 44 years of devoted service to that company, and they rewarding you handsomely, really, for it's a good bloody gold-plated pension that none of us are going to have. We will be working till we're 85. You're 62 years old and you're doing 15.5-hour night shifts.
15.5 hour night?
Yeah, but no, I've got to say, that is purely my own choice. I don't have to do that.
We know that.
but I could be doing 3.5-hour shifts, going all the way to bloody Mason about 3.5 hours and then doing a 12-hour shift. I don't want to do that.
We know he's stubborn.
Yeah, he's very stubborn.
We know he is set in his ways.
Yeah.
We know he's not easy to deal with.
No.
By a long shot.
He's a nightmare. So once he digs his heels in, that's it.
Diabetes. Now, what is type 2 diabetes?
It's the second type of diabetes.
Yeah.
We had so much to find out. But right now, Dad's diabetes has led to 2 dangerous foot conditions linked to the disease: Charcot's foot and diabetic ulcers. Dad had recently discovered that amputation was a serious risk for him.
I was having plaster put on my leg to keep it from getting worse. And I was next to a guy who's also having a plaster removed, and he had his foot removed. And I looked at it and I thought, that can't be because of diabetes, it can't be. That was my first realisation that what can happen, what diabetes can do to you.
But the problem obviously is here. These are the problem. These feet.
Yeah.
Because if we don't get this right, then these are going to be coming off.
Right, okay, so what's causing the feet, though?
Come on, Dad. This is ridiculous. Charcot's foot. Okay, so this is the bone, the arch of his foot has just collapsed, isn't it?
As we began to open up on that board, the size of the task of fixing Dad was beginning to sink in.
Right, what is the problem with his heart? He's got a kind heart.
What?
He's got a kind heart.
Kind? Yeah, that's okay. Let's put some notes. Hang on. Irregular. Oh, shit.
What you done?
That's bad.
Heart with an A?
Yeah.
What, English degree?
Hang on.
How are you going to get around that one?
Well, he's fallen over. Yeah, so...
Hurt.
Heartbeat. Right, so irregular heartbeat. It's irregular. I meant to do it.
Cholesterol, stroke risk,
Okay.
heart attack.
His blood pressure. As well as having an irregular heartbeat, it beats with ferocity. Yeah, we're talking like high, aren't we? So, you know, originally a top number of over 200.
Yeah, proper high.
Like a dead man walking.
Death high, yeah.
The nurse pretty much said.
death high, so risk. And for that, he's on drug, isn't he?
Warfarin.
Warfarin. What has he got in the prostate? He's swollen, isn't it?
Swollen, yeah.
Tamsulosin, metformin, gliclazide, warfarin, statins, atenolol.
Yeah.
The problem is when all these things come together, isn't it? Who is looking at the whole picture?
I'd like to get off the metformin, which is the sugar lowering drug. Obviously blood pressure. I don't want to be on blood pressure pill, but then with me atrial fibrillation that I've got with the heart, I don't know how that's going to affect that. Apparently it is quite a big thing in people that are overweight. A lot of people have that. You're only worried about blood clotting in the top chamber of your heart.
When the diabetes thing came in and hit him, that then just took him down another notch.
Yeah,
and he just basically thought, well, what's the point anymore? I may as well enjoy food. The food is his only comfort.
Well, I think if we get him in for a full private medical to make sure, independent of the NHS and what he's being told there, we just get the all clear on him across the board so that we're happy that we're not putting him into any danger. When you're diagnosed a diabetic, you're told it's manageable, but you're told it's progressive and long-term.
Yeah.
You're not told this is something that you could do something about in yourself. But, would you bother making changes with your healthy eating and your diet and your lifestyle and all that entails just because you can keep it the same? You probably wouldn't.
No, that's true, yeah, unless you can make a big difference.
I think you've got to tell people you can fix it, whatever it is. You've got to aim, however deluded that is, you've got to have that aim that, I'm going to be the first one that does.
Perhaps I was thinking of downsizing a little bit later on and having a bit more money there.
It's not later on, it's with a line in the sand, it's now.
Yeah, but yeah.
There is no later on. That is the problem, isn't it? It's you'll just keep going and keep going and keep going until suddenly it's not doable anymore.
But sometimes, while the people closest to us can see all the problems we're facing, we're so buried in it that we need them to show us the way. We felt the key to motivating Dad was in his past. Never knowing his own dad and the sudden death of his mum were things that Dad never spoke about. And yet somehow, the camera brought all this stuff to the fore.
Everybody had been talking about leaving and leaving. They're both saying they're going to leave, And I came home and there's nobody at home. And I went round the back of the house. I was probably, I can't remember, I must have been about 7. And went round the back of the house and nobody there. And all the doors were shut at the back. And there's always somebody in the house, always. And I just started bashing on the window and crying my eyes out because I thought everybody had just gone and left me. I thought that was it, And a neighbour came out and took me in, and a little bit later my mum came home. And it was all suddenly explained to me that night. So I can honestly say I never ever knew my dad. I never did. My brother Dave, he basically he was my father. He did everything for me.
It wasn't expected or comfortable for any of us. But in the saddest moments of Dad's life, he found the key to his own fight, for his health, for his family.
Several years after that, my mum passed away, and that was due to poor medical help. She could have been saved. She didn't need to die. She was trying to be brave. She was trying to tell everybody there's nothing wrong with her.
She was always a strong person, wasn't she? She never wanted to put on anybody.
No, that was it. Nobody would listen to what was really wrong with her, and I know that now. At the time I didn't realise, but bloody medical profession at that time was absolutely useless. When I look back, I realised that there could have been so much more, and I just so regret not doing more.
You don't want the same thing to happen to us, really.
Exactly not. Exactly. That's the whole point. And you've got to be on top of everything. You've got to be responsible for yourselves. If I could get through this and prove that it can be done and prove that all these medical problems have gone away and I haven't got to worry about them anymore, and then people can see that and see that it works, that would be absolutely fantastic for me.
We made a pact that day that would make fixing Dad possible. Dad would do whatever we asked, without question, for the next 12 months.
The speaker's on top.
It's already comedy gold, isn't it? We dug out Dad's old bike. It turned out cycling was ideal for Dad because it didn't drive too much weight through his feet.
I must be complete stark raving. He's agreed to it. Okay.
So that was how it started. Me running, Ian with the camera, and Dad on the bike. But as we set off on our journey that day, we didn't know what a rough ride we were in for. This would mean giving up our own family time, our own hobbies. But most of all, it would mean arguments. Lots and lots of arguments, day in, day out.
All that house has ever been for you is a burden.
No, it isn't.
Yes.
No, it's not a
Yes.
burden. It's not a burden.
All it's ever done is cause grief.
No, it isn't.
Yes.
No, it hasn't.
Yes.
It hasn't.
Yes.
It hasn't.
Yes.
It has not caused grief.
Yes.
It's been what you strive for is the roof over your head. It's not grief, is it? You got it. I've got that place.
Well, yeah, and you still owe.
No, well, I could have had it by now if I hadn't done all the pissing it up the wall over the years. It would.
You've got to get a grip, young man. Do you know what? You've got to get a grip. Because I've had too much of this from you. I've had 3 of these incidents now, and I'm not having it anymore. I will jump out of this at any time. I've really had enough of it.
We were never going to agree on everything, but we all wanted his health back.
Somehow, through what we've done so far, he's seeing a way out. Since we sort of started just mentioning it to him and doing the film, he's become a different person.
He's changing, isn't he? Yeah. We're seeing the old Jeff.
Yeah.
And as Dad got out more, his fitness improved, and we started to see the old Jeff again.
Lots of lambs.
It's like being on flat tyres. No wonder you're slow on this.
Stop your moaning.
Might as well use rubber rings.
Yeah, I mean, type 2 diabetes is practically an epidemic at the moment.
Part of fixing Dad was just giving him faith in the medical profession again. This meant changing his GP to one who fully supported our project and who could explain in real terms what was happening to Dad.
Type 1 and type 2 diabetes do tend to be lumped under the diabetes service thing, when in fact they're quite different conditions, and what drives them is quite different. Type 2 diabetes is much more complicated in the sense that initially it's a problem where the body is producing too much insulin, but the cells don't respond correctly. And because the body cells aren't responding correctly, it keeps on rising, and you end up with chronically raised levels of insulin. And those high levels of insulin have all sorts of effects on blood pressure, on uric acid, on fat metabolism.
We knew Dad had responded to the threat of amputation, so we asked Bill to explain to him the systemic worst case if he didn't stick with the pact.
You'd always tell them, because the worst thing is somebody gets told you've got a touch of sugar, and don't worry, we'll give you some pills, because like nobody wants to tell you it's bad, nobody wants to scare you, which is kind of nice, it's kind, nobody wants to frighten you. Yeah. Everything from cancer to heart attacks to strokes to dementia to amputation to kidney failure to blindness, impotence, it's all going to be much more likely. The real issue is we need to try and just take the pressure off that system so that the cells can resensitize.
Bill went on to explain the problem in terms that Dad would fully understand.
Kind of an analogy I tend to use when I'm explaining this to patients is that of whispering and shouting. You know, if I walk in and start shouting in your ears, I mean, one of the things you're going to do is you're going to put your fingers in your ears because that shouting's rather unpleasant, which means I have to shout louder to get your attention. And eventually I'll just go hoarse, at which point, you know, the whole system's fallen down. So eventually the pancreas will strain itself to the point of failure. And at that point, you've then got advanced type 2 diabetes where you may be deficient of insulin, and you may need to have injections of insulin because the insulin producing cells have exhausted themselves. If somebody's, you know, not listening to you, they've got their fingers in their ears and you're shouting, how do you change the game? Well, you start whispering, you know, and if you whisper really quietly, then people start listening. Sorry, what was that? Yeah. And in nutritional terms, this means you basically cut your refined carbohydrate and foods that digest as sugar to as low as you can tolerate, as quickly as you can, and you try and resensitize the insulin responding enzymes so that they can begin to work properly. And to me, that's just common sense. There's no rocket science in that. Amazingly, there are a few nutritionists who regard that as complete heresy. They say that's absolutely wrong. You know, we know that diabetes is a condition that is a high risk of heart disease. Therefore, cutting fat is the most important thing we can do. And you know, sugar is necessary for you to live. Therefore, you must maintain your sugar. Just eat it more. And I think I can see the logic, but the logic is circular. And the biochemistry, I think, is very straightforward.
We were keen to know how we could apply what Bill was saying to Dad's diet on a practical day-to-day level.
Your breakfast is going to be eggs and avocados. You're going to have a nice tuna salad for lunch, and supper's going to be steamed veg, green veg, surface-growing veg. Avoid anything starchy, anything sweet, and either fish or lamb chops or whatever you like. And just do that and see what happens.
Bill had given us so much more information, and his most important words still rang in our ears.
Unless we fix this, you are driving right next to the cliff. Where previously you were in the middle of a lane, you've now got a wheel half over the ditch, and it doesn't take much to push you.
We wanted to know exactly how close Dad was to that ditch, so we took him for a full private medical.
Do you wear boxers?
Do I wear boxers?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, just how comfortable they are. I've always worn briefs. New boxers I've got on.
Have you?
Yeah. First time I've ever worn boxers.
What, are they tight?
No,
Are they tight?
no,
ones
not
or
tight.
loose?
No.
You had briefs before?
I always wear briefs, always. That's just what, yeah, always. Before that, Y-fronts, plain Y-fronts. I was talking to him about it. Why can't you just be that much more organised where you be places on time? You only need one little thing to go wrong and you're going to be late.
I was trying to say that he needs to be more spontaneous.
What's the point of being spontaneous if it don't work? If you're not going to be
There's more to life than being on time.
Well, there isn't. Not when there's something like, what about this? If we'd been late for this,
Yeah, that would have been.
you lost all that money. Yeah, see?
I thought you
Oh,
were.
I thought-
minutes early. But you wanted to be here in camp over.
Pure luck, that was, pure luck.
So I'm Dr. Paul, and just been hearing a bit about you, all sorts of exciting things on your things, your medical.
Definitely not boring, Casey.
Definitely not boring.
No,
Far from it.
Of all Dad's problems, most experts seem to agree that type 2 diabetes couldn't be fixed.
The thing is, we just want to get rid of it, don't we?
I know.
We used Dad's medical as an opportunity to quiz the doctor further.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on diabetes, really, and how far it is fixable and how far is it curable.
That's an very interesting question. I don't think anybody knows, but there is evidence which offers a glimmer of hope there.
Yeah.
And a glimmer of hope was all we needed. We felt Dad needed goals, so we set them in 3 areas: fitness, nutrition and mind.
There's always danger, isn't there? But I think there's certain amount
but
of
you've
risk
got to take. If you don't take it, you'll end up just dying anyway.
Well, yeah,
so.
exactly. I know. So fitness. So fitness. We're going for this Prudential 100 then.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Definite.
Yeah.
What's this up here? He's got to do
I'm not thinking as I say that, to be honest with you. I'm just saying yes. I always find it's best just to say yes.
Ian and I knew Prudential Ride London was a major challenge. Cycling 100 miles over some of the most testing Surrey hills. This was something massive to strive for. A 10K was never going to cut it.
Food. His food.
All right. So
Food
his nutrition.
His nutrition's shit, isn't it? He really hasn't got a clue when it comes to nutrition.
But I think part of it is because for so long, like a lot of us, he's not been eating with the family, has he? He's not. He eats at work, or he eats in a pub, or how often does he actually sit down and have a proper meal with the family?
Yeah.
So nutrition, what would be a good goal there?
Well, just be able to cook for the family and cook for the people around him.
We needed real mental focus from Dad and to get his mind in the right place. With the goals set, one of the most important steps we took was to get Dad out of his current environment, to take him away from the habits of home. But we were about to take on the uncomfortable role of parent to our own father. Repeat after me. It's a very important sentiment here. So we are not just on a lad's holiday. What? Repeat. We're not on a lad's holiday. Fixing a stubborn overweight diabetic. Fixing a stubborn overweight diabetic is about more than just diet. It's also about changing the life
It's also about changing the life.
That made him that way.
That made him that way. Made him that way.
The next morning we set off for Spain on a road trip where we would set the rules. It started with the basics.
France is approximately 5,000 miles long. Thank you, thank you.
If you go all the way round
No, no, it's not saying perimeter. It isn't. It's definitely that
France
much
is
longer.
not 5,000 miles. You go to Turkey
You've
in
only got to
3,000.
look at the little map on the weather map and you can see that.
What are you looking at? What site?
I am looking on arse.com.
It's definitely not 5,000 miles long, is it?
Read the bloody thing!
The world's 5,000
Look at
miles
it.
long.
You look at the silly map, it's like the weather map. They always make England look bigger because we're the empire. We were the empire. So they had to make us look. They had to make us look equivalent size to all the other poxy countries.
That is in scale. Now we had Dad on this boat and he couldn't go anywhere. We could really drill down on his eating habits.
When was the last time you went out for a meal?
Last time we went out for a meal was the other day.
How many days ago?
Yesterday.
We'd brought reinforcements. Our stepbrother Kerry and my son Angus had joined the project to help.
You little liar.
That's important. You need to tell it. Be total honesty on this.
Yeah, all right. It was really bad. I had cod and chips.
Does make me feel quite emotional, that. In Bupa Medical on Monday, and he still goes and has fish and chips yesterday. We were upset for more than one reason. We were giving up time and money now, and we were feeling the setbacks more deeply.
Our credibility as documentary filmmakers in fixing you.
Yeah.
If we don't fix you, we fail, and everyone laughs at our documentary.
You got me so stressed out now.
You should have seen me yesterday when I was running around like an idiot trying to get all this lovely stuff together.
You're always 100 miles out. You just got to calm down.
Look who's talking.
I'm trying to help you.
It wasn't long before we faced Dad's first wall of tantrums, and not surprisingly, they were about food.
I will not eat octopus. If you had it with some prawns. I will not eat octopus. I will not eat whelks. There's certain things I will not eat. Once you're fixed,
Snouts, definitely not.
Once you're fixed,
Frog's
you will.
legs, no.
Listen, but once you're fixed, you will. Listen,
No, I won't.
But once you're mentally fixed as well,
I won't.
you will.
I'm not going to eat it. You can buy it, but I'm not going to eat it.
Have you ever tried it?
No, I'm not going to try it. I will not eat that thing.
While Dad had made a lot of improvements on his diet, he was now heavily reliant on our stepmum, Marilyn.
Marilyn does the cooking.
No, but Dad, that is ridiculous. You've got to understand, in order to take control of your health, you need to understand the cooking.
She'll cook what I need to have cooked, but I won't be doing the cooking.
No, but that's ridiculous. Why?
Because I don't enjoy cooking.
You do, though.
I don't enjoy it.
You do.
I don't enjoy cooking. It's no good telling me I do, because I don't. You do. I've seen you do it, and you enjoy it. I don't. It's the sort of thing that I wouldn't want to spend time on. I spend my time eating it.
So I know exactly, but that is the problem. That is your entire issue.
That's it. Okay, then. That's not going to change. I'm not going to start cooking suddenly. Ain't going to happen.
That is such a defeatist attitude.
It's not. That's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to do. I'll make sure I eat the right stuff, yes, because I know I've got to do that.
Just go and buy fast food, basically.
No,
You want somebody else to
no, I'm not talking to somebody else. Marilyn enjoys cooking. She'll cook for me. I'm not doing all the cooking. It's not my. I go out and work all day. I go out and work. Marilyn does the cooking. Cooking is something you do to achieve what you need to eat, and that's all there is to it. Some people enjoy doing that. Cooks enjoy doing that. I don't.
You love food.
I like food. I like certain food. Yes, but it's not a case of I've got to make it all myself.
That is ridiculous. You love food.
Right,
Why not learn
you can
how to
argue
make
as much as you like, but I'm never going to be cooking regularly.
You can't rely on other people to cook you meals.
Marilyn relies on me to go to work and earn the money. I rely on her to cook me a meal. She'll cook me whatever I need to have be cooked, and she'll do it. I'm not saying that as a chauvinist pig or anything. It's what it boils down to. That is our functions in life. I want to do what I do already.
Which is what?
Which is work. Get the money in. Do what I have to do. Well, all right, I understand it, right? I do understand it. I understand what I need, but I'm not going to be doing it. So what's the problem? I will never become passionate about cooking. It will never happen. I'm not that sort of person.
But this was about more than just cooking. If Dad was going to get better, this was a battle we couldn't lose.
Why do they not put, like he used to put a bloody sign on telling you what does what? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's only 4 things. All right, we've got raw frittata for dinner because nobody can turn the cooker on. What have I done? Help. It's gone off. Turn that one, I'll defy you. I defy you to turn that one on. Hang on. Dizzy. Oh, it's killing me.
It looks solid underneath, isn't it?
Go, Dad.
Feels as though I should have candles on it. Once you try this, you will not want anything else for the rest of the day, because you'll probably be being sick. Right, I need something to serve it up with.
Despite the challenges, sometimes it's funny how just a change of scene can change a situation and open up a whole world of new possibilities.
This looks brilliant. I can't wait. Your thing will go wrong.
Me?
You stop. You bugger. You've got me into.
Come on. Going to the third side is for the legs.
I shall go it. Get in there, you bastard. Oh, dear.
This was a world where fixing Dad was possible. It was a world where anything was possible, where the can'ts and won'ts and impossibles of home seemed a long way away.
This is absolutely glorious. It really is. The most fantastic thing.
The mind is busy. Set the thoughts just to one side and turn the focus to the breath.
The trip had brought us closer to understanding Dad's problems. It had brought us closer together. But more than that, it had given Dad the sense of adventure he'd long ago forgotten. And this was what he'd needed all along. It was that sense of identity, of family, of belonging that had brought Dad back to us.
I couldn't have done it if you'd played ball and you had. Well, yeah, it was only for me, isn't it? It's not for anybody else. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You've done it for me, and you know.
We love you.
I love you. I feel a bit. I can't thank you enough.
At Dad's medical, Dr. Twort had talked about a glimmer of hope for diabetes. The evidence he'd mentioned was a study being carried out by Professor Roy Taylor in Newcastle. Here we had a distinguished professor who was successfully reversing type 2 diabetes in many patients. We were in luck. Outside of his controlled study, Professor Taylor had agreed to assess Dad.
All ready to go. Get that scan running.
Under our supervision and Dr. Warrillow's guidance, Dad had lost a lot of weight and reduced his medications. But we wanted to fix him, and today we'd find out how close we were to doing just that. Goodbye, type 2, oh, it's time to go. Ba-boo-be-da-boo, you do ba-boo-be-da-boo. Goodbye, type 2, yeah, it's time to go. Goodbye. No, it's ba-boo-be-da-boo.
I'm going to miss my appointment. I'm going to miss my appointment.
Loads of time.
I'm going to miss my scan. It's costing millions of pounds to arrange this for me today, and we're going to miss it.
Now what's he doing? He's only got to pick up some epoxy batteries.
Both shops are out of double A's.
You're f***ing joking me.
So I go home with it. It's the openers at the back, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, there's a
Definite.
co-op there, no, shut up.
You want a petrol station?
My petrol stations will rip you off.
Well, it doesn't matter. You've left it too late, like always. If you'd organised it,
please.
Said to me yesterday, I would have picked up as many batteries as you
wanted.
wanted.
I did say to you, I said I need batteries.
You didn't. I asked you. I said, do you need batteries? No. You go, no.
He did say
no, you didn't. Not while I was at
You're the runner. You're the runner. Always get back.
Left to the roundabout.
I could be in the scanner at 8:30.
That's fine. What time did they tell us to get there?
They said don't bring that cantankerous bastard before 8:30. Who's saving your life? Me and Ian. saving your life. Let's just get it in perspective. How do you repay us with all this bullshit?
Yeah, but you've had me running up and downstairs with my heart going like 20 to the
Yeah, we have to. That's part of saving you, isn't it? Otherwise you'd be lying on your back eating what's-its.
Yeah, we might as well relax though.
We were all in good spirits about meeting Professor Taylor. The mere idea that this disease could somehow be reversed was driving us forward. From the moment Professor Taylor began to talk, we were encouraged. It was as if we were talking about a totally new disease.
Type 2 diabetes is not a disease of obesity per se. Type 2 diabetes is a disease of carrying around just a few extra pounds of fat.
Can I shut the door? Look, I've got people looking at me.
Not really, Dad.
To have achieved the weight that you've achieved, it was almost nothing to do with exercise, certainly moving down from 20 stone. That's all in food consumption. If people want to lose weight, having become overweight, they can't exercise it away.
How's that? Are they in the right place?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Quite a few of my patients come along and say, I hate my diabetes, what can I do to get rid of it? And this is how they can get rid of it.
Okay, here we go. So can you breathe in and out? Breathe in and out. Breathe in again. Breathe right out. And stop there. Just a moment.
Okay.
We'd put Dad through that scanner to measure how much fat was left on his liver and pancreas, and to what extent he was diabetes-free. Nothing could have prepared us for what happened next.
Can you switch this off a second?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, it's fine.
When your whole world hangs on fixing Dad, there's one word you can't afford to hear. And we'd just heard it. And we've got to find the positives in here. There is no definitely useful information which can be given just now. The possibility is there that it's a renal cell carcinoma. Around 72 out of every 100 people with kidney cancer live for at least a year after they're diagnosed. Around 56 out of every 100 people live for at least 5 years, and about half live for at least 10 years after they're diagnosed. Dad being diagnosed with kidney cancer was horrible for all of us. But Dad took it harder than anyone. We got the whole family together in Scotland. But even surrounded by the people that loved him, Dad seemed lonely and scared.
One day, as I say, I'm feeling elated, and then suddenly it just goes, and I think it's just I start to think about all the things that
What?
Well, that you're going to leave behind.
No, you don't need to think about that yet. You don't need to think. You're not there. You're just not there, Dad. All right. I know you're going to start feeling like that, but you must not start that.
You're not there. You've got our support.
In the face of cancer, we all felt lost. If we ever had a moment of doubt, it was now. We put a brave face on for Dad, but after everything we'd done with him over the last year, we knew we could lose him just as fast. And he knew it too.
There's too many people out there with this problem, and it doesn't need to be. I just hope and pray that I can do something to help anybody else to get through this and to fight it. Just don't give in. Keep on trying.
Well, life went on, But the project almost came to a stop. Suddenly, we found we had a very different battle on our hands. Dad threw himself back into the night shifts, but the dark thoughts of what might happen kept creeping in.
I'm just absolutely petrified of this. I'm really, really scared silly.
But in the midst of all this, there were positives. The diabetes scan meant we'd found the cancer early, and Dr. Warrilow had referred Dad to Ben Chalacombe, one of the best urological surgeons in the world.
Jeff, the operation's going to take about 2 to 3 hours. It depends a little bit on how easy it is to line things up. You've got a small tumour on the sort of outer part of the right kidney. The plan today is to remove the small mass. It's about the size of a 50p piece that's sort of mainly in and a little bit sticking out of the kidney using the Da Vinci robot.
Living my life as I did, with all that weight and all the drink and everything else, wasn't going to do any good, was it? You think it's just diet, you think it's just fat, you think it's just putting on weight, you think it's diabetes, but it can do anything. It is the whole lifestyle which affects your life. That's it, isn't it? You are what you eat.
Not arguing for once.
So fixing Dad hung in the balance for 4 long hours, until finally we got the news we'd hoped for.
It went really well. It was difficult, one of the more difficult ones that I've done, because the tumour was entirely inside the kidney. It wasn't really sticking out to any great extent. I thought it would be a little bit more, but it's all come out cleanly. We used the ultrasound machine to localise it. I think it probably is a cancerous type of tumour, but in a way that means it was worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't done unnecessarily, and you know, in that situation, that's almost always all that he needs done.
At this difficult time, we were overwhelmed by the messages of support from the diabetic community. As Dad recovered, Ian and I used the time to find out more about the wider problem from some of the most eminent names in UK health, who really devoted their lives to one thing: the health and well-being of people across the UK.
It's not just a few people who've succumbed, if you like, it's the whole population. So you either have to say there's been a national collapse in willpower, or you say, wait a second, the world has changed.
The current dietary guidelines actually increase the risk of developing type 2 diabetes and obesity because there is too much carbohydrate in that guideline. And we know that carbohydrate drives insulin more than protein, more than fat. Insulin is a fat-storing hormone. It is also the hormone that drives the risk of developing type 2 diabetes.
The reality is that the science has now evolved. We now have a better understanding of the relationship between what we eat and its relationship to poor health outcomes. And when armed with that knowledge, we have a moral imperative to act.
We used to action as doctors, you know, we have to act. When you've got something's going on, we get on with it, you know. And it's very frustrating when politicians and civil servants don't seem to have that sense of urgency.
It's the duty of our politicians to protect its citizens and children from the manipulations and excesses of the food industry.
This could be regulated, and no politician in a democracy wants to do this. It cuts off the funding from our food industry, it cuts off the voters from them very potently. This is not a popular thing, and it's one of the ways in which democracy is not a terribly effective form of society to get things done.
Dad took a while to get properly back on his feet. He was shaken up by the cancer and became withdrawn again. The only way to bring him back was to give him a problem much bigger than his own. This meant throwing Dad right into the heart of it. It meant training for the benefit of others and speaking out on their behalf. And this took a change in tone from our side.
You've got this idea in your head that you're not good enough to get anything better.
Who is in a better position than you to deliver the diabetics perspective?
3.5 million diabetics.
Speaking is something that you can learn.
and speaking up and talking to people. And
I must admit, it is something I would never ever thought I could do ever, because I'm terrible
Just
at that
imagine
sort of
though,
thing.
how many other things there are that you think you can't do, that you can do.
We need you to step up to this now. We need you to say, right, I can bloody do this. I can
Do what?
I can stand up. I can be the diabetics champion. I can do this.
The diabetes is one thing,
but you can make a choice, can't you? And all those beliefs that have held there, maybe tightly held beliefs from the past that creep back in sometimes, but you can say to yourself, no, that was the old me. The new me is taking it forward onto that stage, and it's going to tell people what they need to do to conquer type 2 diabetes. We had no doubt now that Dad could do this. Type 2 diabetes was in his sights. I want you to now get to a point where you're saying, well, actually, yeah, my boys put me here, but I'm the one they want to see. I'm the one that should be proud of this, because I've got here, I've done everything they've asked, and I'm bloody well here, and now it's me that gets the opportunity to change the world.
In the unlikely event of an emergency, follow the instructions broadcast over the public address system.
How many millions of pounds we spend on this thing? And at the end of the day, it's because I'm eating the wrong stuff, I'm drinking the wrong stuff, I'm doing everything wrong myself.
Exactly. More than 90% of diabetes sufferers have type 2. And if there is a way of fixing that, then surely it's something we need to look into and we need to challenge.
I had to scare myself by seeing what was going on and then realising that you lose a limb, and then shortly after that, all your organs start to collapse. That terrifies you.
We booked Dad as a speaker at conferences around the world. But this would be a journey of discovery. And first we needed to ask some questions. The most common discussion on this disease was who's to blame. For us, this wasn't about blaming anyone. For us, it was about finding out what could be done. The title of our documentary is Fixing Dad. So we're trying to fix as much about him as we can. The diabetes type 2 is probably the hardest one for us to fix.
Yes.
But what do you think about that?
Maybe in the future, Now the big discussion is about surgery, bariatric surgery.
Should we not be trying to encourage people to not get to that state where you need
Yes,
surgery?
yeah.
It wasn't until I saw people having their feet amputated, when in my case with Charcot's foot, and suddenly I started to realise that this is really real, this is going to happen to me, and that frightened me, that scared me to death.
One of the biggest problems we've had with my dad was trying to get him up off the sofa in the first place.
People who have depression, who have a severe form of depression, called major depression, the risk of developing diabetes is increased by about 70%. The funny thing is, if you have diabetes but you don't know it, then you're not more likely to be depressed.
Okay. So our perception of ourselves and our own state of health is important.
This is a disease which does not make your life impossible, and it affects people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. You just live with that, but you have to do something in your life, something we do not have a pill for.
Over the course of those few weeks, we'd opened Dad's eyes to the scale of the problem. We'd learned about attitudes to type 2 diabetes all over the world. So on our return to the UK, we knew our challenge would be to put this to good use. But we got back to a cautionary message from Dad's cardiologist. As Dad prepared for his 100-mile bike ride, he'd been getting some breathing problems. We were almost relieved that a health professional had uttered a word of caution on this, because stopping Dad from riding would be like trying to stop a steam train. I've got a letter here for Dad when he gets here, from the cardiologist. It's pretty serious.
No, this is all about me finishing. It's not anybody. You fall off and hurt yourself. That's your fault.
All right, okay. So I'll read you this then, right? So it's mainly the last page of this, because he talks about the fact you felt a bit dizzy, all that sort of stuff. The fact you're losing weight, it's all being good.
But what do you think about this?
Me and Ian have been talking about it, and we are worried about you doing this ride on Sunday.
Yeah, but it's not your decision, is it?
Well, it's our project.
It's your project.
It'll be us in the news.
We'll shut the project then. Shut the project. So I haven't just trained for the last 7 months to do this, to turn around and say I'm not going to do it because some doctor's covering his arse.
But Dad's defiance wasn't without doubt. The first hurricane of the Atlantic storm season, Hurricane Bertha, had been upgraded and was heading for the UK.
Ex-Hurricane Bertha.
It was August, and Dad was watching his luck dive all over again.
Particularly on Sunday, where we could see some disruptive wind and rain.
There's one bit of your body you haven't properly warmed up. You just feel it on the bike the whole way.
Go, Dad?
No.
Why not?
Come on, you want to mic me up, you better do
What's
it.
up?
'Cause
What's up?
I'm going to put this around my waist, all right? Is this going around my waist now?
No, well, you can put it wherever you want to put it, yeah, around your waist, Go on. How you feeling?
Well, stressed.
So I told him to go and stretch and warm up his joints.
Have you done your warm-up?
Don't give me warm-up after I've been running around trying to get you two sorted out.
Got to be at the start line in about half an hour.
You look like you're ready, Dad. I'm ready for nothing.
Just move around on your crack, lean forward, lean forward on your bike.
Have a crack, lean forward.
On the bike.
There were thousands of people in London for the event,
Move around,
but we couldn't help wondering whether they were ready for the diabetics champion.
Oh God, what we become cannot be undone.
Well, it's in madness. I really shouldn't be doing this. I really shouldn't.
Don't say that.
Well, it's getting like everything's been absolute manic. Now, looking at the weather outside, we are going to get a bit wet at some time. There is no question about that.
What we become cannot be undone. Jesus, come.
So, where's the arms? Right, just so we don't get soaked from the very start. Looks like it might only be a little shower. That look good? Cool, does it?
Jeff, you are the picture of health. You
Thank you
are
very
Kent's answer to George Clooney.
Well, I'd like
Look
to
at
think
you.
so, yeah.
What a transformation. Jeff, I mean, you're just exuding energy now.
You're a picture of health.
Well, and all this training is all for one thing, is to Prudential Ride London. You're going to do a 100-miler.
Absolutely.
Could you have imagined that this time last year?
No way. When it was first mentioned, I just laughed, it had to be a joke. But no, he was adamant we were going to do it.
But our love is worth the war if you'll only surrender your heart. Why keep struggling so hard? One look in my eyes, you know.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. We were stuck in Richmond Park. Everybody's stuck. The whole thing's come to a halt. Yeah, because there's a flood going through it. Down the middle.
In the middle of the road, there's too much water.
Right, we're heading off. We're about, what, 25 miles in? Yeah, 25 miles in. In what park are we in?
Hampton Court now. This is Hampton Court.
It's not so much that time.
It was a relief when Dad got to the top of Newlands Hill. But when he stopped, he was having trouble.
I've got my breathing thing back again.
Have you? Or now?
So it's always when I stop.
Yeah, but that was a hard hill. A little bit worried about Dad because he's stubborn, but he's not breathing properly. We're at the top of Newlands Hill. It was really hard to climb. I felt like my face was going to explode.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. At the moment, I'm in trouble breathing.
It was a scary moment, but as the storms got stronger, so did Dad's resolve. We knew him all too well. He just kept battling and battling.
I'm sure he'll have something nice to say to me. I am fixing him after all. You never know with Dad. Sometimes he'll hit you right where it hurts.
You keep on, I'm going to stop. All right, just shut up. I'm talking about to someone that's seen the show and wants to talk to me. Do you want me to ignore him to talk to you, you stubborn old git?
Then as the sun came out, so did the crowds, and the end was finally in sight.
about fixing Dad. I spend all my time trying to catch the stuns.
There's so much you can do actually just by being a family together, eating well together, exercising together, things that are difficult to build into our modern lives. So I'm inspired by you, and I'm sure you can inspire lots of other people.
Amazing, Dad. Absolutely brilliant. Unbelievable. I would say to anybody, especially diabetics out there, don't give up. Nobody was in a worse condition than me. There's always a chance out there. All you've got to do is get out, do something like this, get on a bike, build yourself up, build yourself confidence, and you can get through it.
Have these two boys of yours saved your life?
They literally have. I can't thank them enough. I'll be upset if I don't get my goodie bag, you know. Do you know what's supposed to be in it?
Sometimes our kids overestimate our abilities. Maybe they see things that just aren't there. But fixing Dad was a lesson in not taking no for an answer, in the importance of finding the positives, however small. There are times when everything seems to be lost, but often there are people around us who just won't give up on us because they don't want to see the future without us. Of course, there are barriers to fixing our health, but the barrier should never be ourselves. There are changes we can all make for the better, wherever we are in our lives. We didn't think we had time for Dad, but the more we put into this, the better life got for all of us.
Sometimes in life, the person you were meant to be hides in a corner, under a pile of life's debris. It takes a courage to find that person, a courage we might not know we have. But there are people around us who know our courage, who know exactly what we're made of, because they're made of the same stuff.
Dad's not perfect now, but he is much better. We're closer now too.
My family could have resigned themselves to my ill health, just as I had. They could have said it was a lifestyle disease and that was my fault. I'm standing here today without crutches, on both my feet, because they didn't say that. So many of the people in this country and across the world are in poor health when they don't need to be.
However negative the messages around you, and whatever the outcomes, attempting to help someone you care about could well be the most important journey you'll ever take.
Together we have the power to strengthen each other, to make the change we want to see in the world. Thank you so much for listening.
After a full 18 months of fixing Dad, we got the news we'd always hoped for. We were told a minor miracle had taken place in Dad's body. His type 2 diabetes was resolved. As he stood there on that stage, we saw a spark of the man we thought we'd lost. The Dad that fell rose to his feet and brought the crowd with him. When you're a kid, your dad's a hero. As you get older, your belief in superheroes fades. But at last, at least for that moment, our Dad, our superhero, believed in himself.
Well, I'm rumbling in this JCB. I'm 5 years old, my dad's a giant sitting beside me, and the engine rattles my bum like berserk while we're singing, don't forget your shovel if you want to go and work. My dad's probably had a bloody hard day, but he's being good fun and bubbling and joking way. And the procession of cars stuck behind are getting all impatient and angry, but we don't mind. And we're holding up the bypass, oh, me and my dad having a top laugh, oh, whoa, sitting on the toolbox, oh, and I'm so glad I'm not in school, boss, so glad I'm not in school, oh no. And we pull over to let cars pass, and pull off again, speeding by this summer green grass. And we're like giants up here in our big yellow digger, like Zoids or Transformers, or maybe even bigger. And I want to transform into a Tyrannosaurus Rex and eat up all the bullies and the teachers and their pets. And I'll tell all my mates my dad's B.A. Baracus, only with a JCB and Bruce Lee's nunchuckers. Said I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round and we're holding up the bypass. Whoa, and me and my dad having a top laugh. Oh, whoa. And I'm sitting on the toolbox, oh, and I'm so glad I'm not in school, boss, so glad I'm not in school. I said I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his, I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB. I'm Luke, I'm 5 and my dad's Bruce Lee. Drives me round in his JCB.